Good evening, friends, my mothers, my fathers, my brothers, my sisters, and my little kiddies. And friends, we welcome you once again to the Wesley Guild SA platform, where we talk about all things life, all things politics, all things parenting, all things education. Today is no different. And today's session is a wonderful one because we are talking to someone that is known and loved by all South Africans and beyond. Lina laka ke selaelo, Orange setlogolo sa ga Mogale Mopedi Molobedu. And I am so delighted this evening to be in conversation together with you. I am going to be hosting, or rather co-hosting, this evening's conversation with my brother and friend Buqaphela Wakwamajola. Buqaphela, welcome to the Wesley Guild SA, and I'm happy to be hosting this conversation today now.
Hello, sis. Hello. Good evening. It's been a long day, but you are here now. Thank you very much for welcoming me. And ndiyabulisana kumama uNomvula ke naye wonke umuntu osimameleyo nosibukeleyo ngalomzuzu. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I greet you in the wonderful name of Jesus. Thank you, sis.
Thank you so much. Friends, before we introduce our guest this evening, this is an opportunity for you to know the side of her that you probably have never known. And we make sure that we bring that part that is probably not even in the papers about our guest this evening. And so before we introduce our guest, let us please close our eyes and invoke the Holy Spirit in prayer. Thixo wethu ongumdali wethu wena Ramasedi wa go loka re tla go wena bošegong bja letšatši sithi Abba Father Nkosi enamandla amakhulu. We thank you, Lord, for ukusivusa kusasa Mesiya onamandla amakhulu. Wahamba nathi ebudeni bosuku Thixo olungileyo wade wasifikisa Nkosi enamandla amakhulu kuleli xesha for us to be in conversation with your daughter Mesiya onamandla amakhulu. And so we ask that ungene nokungena kwethu kule ngxoxo Mesiya onamandla amakhulu sibuve ubukho bakho Ramasedi wa go loka. We are so eternally grateful, Lord, that you avail these moments amathuba okuzuzwa kofefe lwakho Thixo wethu olungileyo. And so, Lord, we don't take these moments for granted because baninzi abantu who have been on this earth who will never have an opportunity to have these conversations with these your servants, my God. Kahambe nathi Mesiya, lead these conversations because everything ingawe Thixo wethu onamandla amakhulu. Sikuthemba Nkosi into kokubana these conversations will be fruitful. Sibiza Nkosi egama nasegazi likaJesu Kristu ongumveli umvukeli wethu. Amen.
Amen.
And so, Lord, I'm going to give just a short and brief introduction to Umama Wetu. Our guest this evening is none other than Umama Nomvula Mokonyane, who was born in South Africa. He's a politician in South Africa, and he was born in Kagiso in Krugersdorp. She was a labor, community, and gender activist during the apartheid era. She was first elected as a member of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature in 1994 and has served as a member of the Executive Council in Gauteng from 1996 to 2009. She has since served in different capacity, in different portfolios, and is currently the first Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress. I am not going to read her whole portfolio. She is a mother, a friend, a sister, and someone who is revered by many South Africans. And so, friends, let's put our hands together as we welcome Umama Nomvula Mokonyane. Welcome, Mama. You are muted. Please unmute yourself.
Enkosi kakhulu Silaelo. Good evening, Babuqaphela and members of the Wesley Guild in Southern Africa and every other person who's on the platform. It's good to be here, and I'm quite humbled to have been invited on this very particular platform to just come and share with everyone who this person is.
Absolutely. We look forward to the conversation, and it is only fitting that we have you during Women's Month in South Africa. We need to celebrate the likes of yourself, really fair your flowers while you can still smell them. Singati, after you have left, oh, you know, Mokonyane was this and Mokonyane was that. So we are very humbled and privileged to have you on our platform. I'm going to allow Ukapela to take this first part of the conversation where the two of you are going to talk about, which is the shortest part of the conversation, to talk about your political life, the life that we have seen, the life whereby we have loved you and we have hated you and then we have become indifferent. But so, Kapela, I'm going to give to you so that when I know Mama, we can talk about her political life. Over to you, But.
Enkosi sisi, thank you very much. Mama besendibulisile ke. Thank you very much for joining us. Ndicela nje uyi-highlighter into ethi you are not just into politics, but you are an academic, because I've seen into nobana you've got various qualifications endirhalelazi into nobana ndizishare with our listeners and viewers, because we cannot take for granted into nobana ube ukule rank kuyo political. Funeka siyazi into nobana one of his stepping stones ohambe kuzo to reach the level okuyo ngoku yinto nokubana unayo i-education. So xa bendikujonga ke mama ndifumanisa into nokubana unaso uyifundele i-local government planning management and community development ngapha ngaphesheya eSweden, then waphinda wenza futhi ne-emerging economics from i-Wharton Business School at Pennsylvania University. E-America futhi ufundile khona wafumana i-certificate kwi-economics and finance from Harvard Business School, and you also have a certificate in project planning. Then you also studied leadership and governance at Harvard University. So I just thought I should highlight that before we continue, because we can't take that for granted. Yeah, ndiyanifundo nobana abantu bayazi loo nto leyo ngawe.
Enkosi tata Manbulele. And these are the seeds that were planted ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi namhlanje sibe yingxenye yokusebenza and develop our country, as well as being able to fill in the gap where women have been historically excluded, as well as the majority of South Africans. This has also assisted me in my personal life, but also in my public life beyond government, just to become a community activist, just to be there as part of community development beyond political office. And it is these seeds that today we believe we must actually plant for other generations beyond us to also be in the position to take the baton forward and be able to govern this country and be able to develop this country, but most importantly, and be able not to only be seen as women as if we are being given a chance or an opportunity. It must be something that makes us to fit into what we are assigned to do.
All right, thank you very much, Mom. Now let's go to end with it now. You were born in the early 60s, Mama, and surely it was the time when not politics, but apartheid, oppression, were so oppressed, so obviously you had to join politics. So I just want to know who introduced you into politics?
Yes, you were exposed, but my church introduced me to politics, but my family life exposed me to the life of living under apartheid. So I was not recruited by anybody. Our living conditions, Ekaya, where at the age of 7, I lost my father a week before schools open, and my mother had to look after us, 12 of us, and make sure that we go to school, we attend school, we also participate in church activities. And whilst she was trying to make ends meet, she will be victimized because she would have to one day pay rent, the following month be able to buy 12.5 kgs of meal. The other month she buys a pair of shoes for the other, and the other day she must pay school fees. So that life of women of that time exposed us to some of these kind of challenges. But thanks that the church was there to support us. The church was there to support our mother. And through the church, we were able to grow. And that strong woman made sacrifices that until today, I'm quite grateful that I was born by that woman who helped me to be this woman now who's looking after everybody. Because my mother never brought only the 12 of us up. She brought the community up. She brought our extended family up. She made all of us to appreciate that umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. Coming from a very strong family, a religious family, strong Methodists who also exposed us to the Methodist teachings and life. In my upbringing, we would in the morning go to the 7 o'clock church, a Methodist, and then come back and go to the Catholic church. And after church, go back to Sunday school in the Methodist church. And Sunday was just about religion and everything, even on how to pray. I'm quite grateful because in the Catholic space, you have a system on praying, but praying and expressing yourself. I'm grateful that my own grandmother, my maternal mother, is the one who really took care of me, who also lived with me after I was married, and who also gave me the support to serve the people of South Africa, starting with the people of our community. And out of that family of 12, I've had 2 other siblings, one of my eldest brothers and one of my eldest sisters, who got involved into active politics, as you say, but who never continued in the same manner as I did. Because my sister Nomvula had to go for nursing, came back, got married. My brother Umlamli went to Inchanga, a college, where there was also an intention that he must be a Catholic priest. And it's only me then who then got exposed to this, exposed my family, exposed my parents, my mother, my grandmother into the life of a freedom fighter, not only politics, just serving the people who were victims of the apartheid system. I was still young when it was June 16, 1976, but my 2 elder brother and sister were the ones who were actively involved in Kagiso. But upon us being exposed to Lorenzo Marx, today it's called Mozambique, the church exposed us to this inequality. Because even here in South Africa, the Catholic Church named in the same name as St. Peter's, where we worshipped, but that one being in Florida was different in terms of the benefits and everything. But linked to that, what was important is that the church took care of us, and we had to pray for the people of Lorenzo Marx against the Portuguese government that was ruling in Mozambique. And that on its own conscientized me about inequality, even inequality in our church environments, and being exposed to the pain of a single mother, a widow. I believed that this can't be correct when somebody's trying to bring up her children and has to go through this pain. We were in a street of 10 houses. And at the time when I was a teenager, there were about six of those homes were led by women. And those are women who inspired me and the conviction that any child is my child. We never went hungry. We never ran out of coal. Every day, but we never sent back amalahle to the other one. Amazamba namabili, and you go uyoboleka amazamba namabili. At home we're taught that you can't have all your pots clean. What if kuzozisihambi or umuntu olambili? And that issue of sharing, and any child is my child. When my paternal parents, my aunts, my uncles were traveling from KwaZulu-Natal into Gauteng here, Many of them will not go and stay in the hostel with their wives because of the laws of that time. Their families will come and spend time in a 4-roomed house with us. And it was never a nuisance to have our relatives. It was always an exciting experience. When it is time for them to leave, you feel that the house is empty. A 4-roomed house with 2 bedrooms, but never full. And those are some of the things that have molded me and have also brought me close to the political life. At the age of 19, I was the publicity secretary of the Kruger's Residents Organization. And my parents, my mom and my eldest brothers and sisters will say, awunandlu Nomvula, awubhadali rent, uhlala apha, but what makes abantu baselokishini bacimba ukuthi you can be the one? And part of it was because of the conscientization I got from the Catholic Church and the nuns, Sister Bernard Ncube, may her soul rest in peace, and many other Catholics that molded my understanding about this work. The issues of solidarity are things that I know from my upbringing. We were adopted by nuns from Germany. We didn't know them. I'm as yet to see that kind of solidarity where they would write a letter to my mother, Grace Matombi Mkize, talking about the children as if they've seen us. But they will relate through writing letters. My kids are this old, they are now doing this. And then you go and collect at the post office a box of jerseys. When it is summer, you find t-shirts and jeans. And we were never written orphans. And they were never subsidized by anybody. And for that, I remain very grateful of my upbringing because it exposed me to the world and solidarity directly for my family. Secondly, the power and the ability of women, irrespective of them being called single women, widows and stuff, their determination to soldier on and do everything for their children. The power of religion, the power of religion, ukukhonza, also collects you yakubumba, such that you are able ukuthi when you are with everybody and things are tough, you know that there's a super big. The only thing, Babu Kapela, that when I grew up was so difficult for me, my uncle's kids, Utenjiwe Nontombonina Skenu, were so used to praying because amawisili bone, you know, they makutwa masbuleleni. This was one moment I never enjoyed kubo mamam because makutwa masbuleleni kutwa bulela Nomvula. I don't know ukuzikhulekela ukuthandaza on my own. Mina ngiyazi ubaba wethu wasezulwini no yethi Maria ugcwele igracia. And then all I will do is to say baba wethu wasezulwini. And then I can't move beyond that and say ngifuna ukuya ekhaya. And they will take me that time of the night back home, and until I got used and we taught each other masidlalisa, you know, omunye nomunye nendlu yakhe. And that's how I learned how to communicate with my creator, not out of reading from the book, but coming from the heart. That's me for you. And that township of Kagiso has brought me up. As I'm saying, we knew each other. We loved each other. We supported each other. Even today, you know ukuthi lo umntana wakulobani uzalwa ngumabani, umakhulu wakhe ngumabani. And homes were like homes for everybody and not homes for your own biological child.
Enkosi mama, enkosi kakhulu. In 1979, you were involved in the formation of the Congress of South African Students. Now, I want to check, how did you manage to balance your school life with your political life? Because back then you had to navigate through. How did you manage?
The good thing during those times, like I'm saying, you had teachers like our Sister Bernard Ncube, who were the ones who were facilitating. And at that time, there was a center here in Rudiport called Velgespreid Community Center that was owned by the Anglican Church. that center was like an ecumenical place. And in many instances, we will go to Welgespreid for life coaching, for coaching teenagers and stuff. But as things grew, we then had to answer the critical questions. Why are we not the same? How are we going to have our freedom, our rights, and build a South Africa where education, because it was after the June 16, 1976 riots, we then felt that indeed the education system cannot be inaccessible for the African child. And we saw the establishment of COSAS as a way of transforming the education system, where we demanded that our parents must be involved in the education of the African child, that the learner herself or himself must be involved in his or her education, and most importantly, working together with the teachers and those who run the schools. That time, there were no SGBs. Today, these are the things that are now called the SGBs. COSAS was formed to do exactly that. But with COSAS, there was also an extra responsibility that before you are a student, you are a community activist. So it was at a time when political parties were banned, the Black consciousness movement was banned, ASAPO was banned, and there was a lull. And unknown to us, the ANC felt that it is important that we invest more on younger people who must resist what the 1976 generation fought against, and now demand the participation, the ownership, and the inclusion of communities into the education system. So we did that as a demand to redress what I was saying. Inking as a school fees, the challenges of our parents not being part of anything. The fact that students were there to learn and not to make contributions on the education system and the running of the schools. It was only after the formation of COSAS that there was a lot of victimization by the security branch, the apartheid police, saying we're furthering the aims of the African National Congress. And that is what hardened our attitudes, me in particular, and many of my own comrades, because this was about the right of a learner, the right of a young person, the right of a parent. And if that was associated with the ANC, we were ready to live with that. And from then one moved from one detention to the other, victimization, harassment, and so on. But we look back today, all those things are in the education schools, the Basic Education Act, the right to learn, no fee school, the participation through the SGBs and stuff, because organs of people's power included us owning up our schools, our education, and ensuring that teachers, parents, and students own up the life of a school and go out into the community and account to the community. And that's when then there was what was called the National Education Crisis Committee, which was a community body. Abomama like Albertina Sisulu were the ones then who participated in the National Education Crisis Committee that called for a national education in Daba, like now Sizobanale National Dialogue. And amongst other things was to deal with the transformation of the education syllabus. And the NECC played also a very critical role because it included trade unions, it included business, Abobabu Motlana, it included people abafana abo Mamu Albertina Sisulu, Abobabu Mefi Murobe, who are still alive here today, and to then say, only through education we can transform our country going into the future.
Enkosi mama ngalo clarity leyo. Now, coming to this part, a few people know that you were arrested. You were arrested in 1985. Yes. And unfortunately, you were arrested, you were in your gestation period at the time. And it is said that you gave birth in detention. How did that come about, your arrest? And how did you control your emotions, considering that you were pregnant at the time?
I was 11 days married, just 11 days married, 2 months pregnant. Our own wedding day was disrupted. I think all of you, you know weddings, kula kujabulwa khona, batho bathabile, humunati, and all the stuff. But on the day when the wedding was at my home in Kagiso, things went well. Of course, the security branch was moving around there and monitoring what was happening. On the following day, when we went to Manseville, to my in-laws, then things were the opposite. They just didn't come and monitor because that community just embraced me. They were happy to see me moving from Kagiso, coming to stay in Manseville. And that time I'm just 2 months pregnant. And they came and they threw tear gas. They disrupted things. Ukudla komtshato was messed up by tear gas. Yeah. And all because people were chanting slogans. For us, everything was about the revolution. And I was getting married to my own political commissar, my mentor, my own leader. Both Kumkhonto Wesizwe, the military wing, the underground, as well as politically. So there was no way that the community of Manseville can just celebrate a wedding without chanting slogans and stuff. And they found an opportunity on that. I stayed in Manseville after that, and we were staying in a shack. In Manseville, my in-laws were staying, and they still are, in an area where it's only 2 rooms. It's the kitchen and the bedroom. So when the kids grow, in the yard. So my husband's shack was like a fence of the house. So what's supposed to be the wall of the shack was actually the fence. And when they come, they never battled. They will just pull one of the amazinki, balidodze, abanye bagibele phezulu, and the whole township is awake with all the lights and everything. And they took us away. And because we always knew that ours was not going to be an easy life, when we arrived at the 4th floor at the headquarters of the security branch, we actually were making jokes about it because we found some of the comrades there, including Sister Bennett, Sister Raphael, another nun, who they tortured in detention. And when they saw that she was going to die in prison, they released her, and in 4 days she died. We couldn't go and bury her. We only heard after she was released. When we got released, months after that, she had passed on because they cut communication with us. So when we were there at the offices of the security branch, we were making jokes to say what being taken on a forced honeymoon. And everybody, comrades, were laughing and stuff. It was myself, one of our younger sister, Comrade Eunice Sekhatle, who's now a senior manager in Mokhale City. It was Sister Bernard, it was Sister Raphael, and Sister Christine, 3 nuns, and the two of us who were not nuns, and were taken to the women's prison in Krugersdorp, a prison that did not have ablution facilities, and there were no rights of prisoners like today. You get there, there's a bucket of water, there's a bucket that is your toilet next to each other, and all you have, it's just a rug that you sleep in and one blanket. There are no windows. It's just grills up there. We were never put in communal cells where we were together. The last time we were together, it was when we were at the headquarters of the police. We left for prison and we never were together again for over 5 months. And then they removed us and took us to Sun City. Sun City is the Johannesburg prison. After they had removed Sister Raphael, the one who I say they tortured her and they almost killed her. When they realized that she might lose her life, they released her to go home. And we remained there. Over 3 instances, the district surgeon, which is your district doctor, who comes and check on you, came to visit, to inspect me and insisted that I'm not pregnant. And they wanted to give me some suppositories that I need to drink. And I said, listen, I know my status. This was a planned pregnancy. I am pregnant. And you get tortured for refusing to take their medicine. And at that time, there was a Goldstone Commission because our parents, our families did not know our whereabouts. We didn't have visits. We didn't have anything. And when Goldstone came to Krugersdorp, he found us there. And when he found us in that condition, he then ordered that we go to Sun City, to correctional services, because here there was no clinic. At Sun City, at Johannesburg, there is a clinic. So for any eventuality, and Sister Bennett was also very sick at that time. So we arrived in correctional services and we find Umasisulu. 2 days after we found her, they released her and they put her under banning order. We found Koniba Pela, who now the City Council of Johannesburg is named after her. This is one woman who was always the first to be detained and the last to be released. She was there in isolation. We found Upinda Ashe, the former wife of Comrade Popo Mulife. All of them in isolation. If we have to communicate, to stand on the window and talk. And when Samora Machel got killed, they actually, we could hear that there were, planes roving around and stuff. And we were locked inside the cells around 10 in the morning. And the following day, we were not even allowed to go outside. And we only learned when we went to hospital to hear that they've killed Samora Machel. And part of how we came to know was that the common prisoners who had gone to court brought us newspapers and we could read. We used the sheet to throw to the other side and then we get the news. And that's how we read about the death of Samora Machel. And when you call these guys and you insist that you are not feeling well, you have to first collapse before they can take you to the hospital. You have to get complicated. And that's what has happened. And unfortunately, in all this, they will use their black prison warders. Some were a bit sympathetic, but others were much more harsher and very brutal. When you demand your rights, you will be punished for demanding your rights. And when you object to the treatment, you'll be tortured for protesting against that. And when you tell them you are on labor pains, they will never listen to you. And thanks God, I gave birth to my child. We were sent home. When we were home, my husband and other comrades were still in prison, in detention. A few months, my husband only met our son when he was 16 months old. That was the first time he could hold him. In other instances, he would actually see him through the glass window in Sun City, and just one visit per month. And you can't discuss anything, you are with them. So then we got charged. We were charged for treason. We were charged treason, meaning you want to overthrow government. We then were charged for subversion, meaning want to undermine the laws. And then we're banned from Kagiso and Manseville. The banning order by Adrian Flock was that we must only be confined to Soweto and we must live in a communal place. The South African Council of Churches helped us to find a place. We stayed at the Lutheran Church. That's why my faith, the respect for religion will always be something that I look up to and say, Ukololwami has actually protected me over time, and diverse. So we stayed there under Bishop Manas Buthelezi at the Lutheran Church in Jabavu with our son, and were helped by neighbors. One of the neighbors that helped to look after our son, Uritlabusa, was a family of one of the Robben Island prisoners who made the entire family to help our son to get used to a family life than to live in an abnormal life of a commune. There's no privacy, there's no time to treat him as a child. And that's what has happened. One thing that made me to be this stubborn, very faithful, and you know what, forgiving, is this experience. It is this experience, because once we were acquitted then in terms of the trial, because they couldn't charge us, they couldn't put us on trial. We then came back home. And when we arrived home, my mother had long passed on. I was staying Nomakulwam, my mother's mom, at home with my husband and our children. They came and bombed our home. They bombed the house. And after bombing the house, the immediate thing that we did with Serge was to look for Abantwana Nomakulu. We had to drag our grandmother to the other side of the area, and then come back and arm ourselves and look for these people. Whilst the community had taken our children to safety. Until today, nobody has been found who bombed that house. The second one, there was an attempt. We moved from my home that was bombed. We moved and we got our own house. First, we went to live with my sister and her family. Then we moved and lived with our own children because we realized that we were a risk to everybody. We took our kids, we went to live in another place, and there was an attempt again. They went inside the yard, and my husband had to actually be the one who shoots first. And guess what? These people left, and as they leave, and their explosive hit the other side of the street, and it never exploded on our yard. The following day, they came and raided our house and were arrested for possession of illegal firearm because they knew that we have our means to defend ourselves. They found a Makarov, they found a hand grenade. Sure. And we did that because we had to defend ourselves and defend our children and defend the neighborhood that we're living with. So again, who came to our rescue when that thing happened was the Institute for Contextual Theology. There was an Institute for Contextual Theology, which was a body of different church denominations. And they had a program called Standing for the Truth. They worked together with the World Council of Churches to get us lawyers and to make sure that we don't also get convicted again for defending ourselves against people who were intentionally coming to kill us and to kill our children whilst we are sleeping.
Sure. Mama,
So
Mama,
that is the experience of being a mother, an activist, but also a woman of prayer, because all churches in Kagiso never turned their back against me.
All right, ma'am. After such an experience, Mama, we know that you then testified, were asked to testify in the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Did that give you comfort after the experience you just, the story you've narrated of your experiences back then? Did the TRC give justice or said was justice served? Do you think that you are comfortable with the decisions that were taken by the TRC?
I'll be lying to say I'm comfortable. The TRC was a good intention of letting people meet with those that have actually offended them and let there be reconciliation. But as I'm saying, there was an attempt of kidnapping, there was a bombing of a house, there was a failed bombing and a shooting at our home. There were all these things that have happened, and nobody has ever come out to say, I apologize or forgive me. I nearly killed your grandmother. Because and Nami, I'll come out armed and I will also show you flames. Don't come and attack a home where I'm with my children and an old lady in the house. And I think that's the viciousness of the apartheid system. They always wanted to hurt you where it matters most, but they never gave up.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mama. I want us now to try to find that balance between the three P's, as our topic is saying. I think, first of all, let me just say on behalf of the Wesley Guild SA, thank you for your service, for your selfless service for the well-being of the country. And I know that we get to appreciate and celebrate and live the life that we live in South Africa because of people like you. And we really, really are grateful for that. Before we enter into the parent now, allow me to read two comments. The one says, a sincere word of thanks to the Wesley Guild SA and also to Mamu Nomvula. Thank you for this opportunity in this monumental month of celebrating women in South Africa. The second comment says, oh, at Mama Action, a force to be reckoned, hashtag DSG, continuously showing resilience, woman power, woman uplifting each other. She wears her many hats with grace and authenticity. Thank you for continuously inspiring us that no matter what be the change you want to see. Magwande. Yeah. We are so grateful. So I need now to engage not the politician, but the person. You said that you lost your father at a tender age of 7. Later on in your life, you lost your mother. You also, for all intents and purposes, you lost a normal childhood. For whatever that normal childhood was, you never got to live a normal childhood as many of us were able to. So my question is, which loss, what does loss mean to you? And which death probably hits you the most to date as a person?
Let me talk about death that hit me most. Is the death of losing my son, Rtlabus, the one that I've just been sharing my life experience with him. He was my friend, he was my buddy. Yeah, he was me. And unfortunately, he passed on. And worse again, Slylo, his passing on had to do with a child who could not take it any longer, being victimized because umntana kaNomvula and Mokonyane. Inside the politics of this ANC that I so love. My son committed suicide on the day when we had an appointment because he wanted to come and tell me what was happening in his life. And then there was some in the media who were looking for him at that point, and they threatened that they were going to write an article about him and all those things. And whilst I was getting dressed, because he liked dating me, going out with me for dinner, going to a restaurant and everything, then I got a call that I must quickly come to his place in Pasonia. And I said, but no, I've got an appointment with him. And they insisted that, no, please come now. And I was dressed up. He told me what to wear and all those things. And I arrived in Pasonia. I found my son hanging. Washed, clean, everything there. No messing up. And I was the first to arrive at the scene. Besides his friends. Losing somebody that you have carried in your womb. I think no woman has to go through that. And worse, when you have not even taken care of him or her whilst he's sick or not. But also realizing that my child is vulnerable and is a target because of the conviction of the parents. And that's exactly one of the things that even now I protect every young woman, man who is an activist and anything, because I don't want to be hurt again, even if it's not my child, but it's my child, because politics can be dirty, society can be cruel, and at the end of the day, children suffer because people know that if bafuna ukukushaya bazokushaya la umncane khona. Yes. And la umncane khona kukuphi? Ingane yakho uphuma esibelethweni sakho. And that was it. And dealing with loss, as you are indicating, the passing on of my dad, it was unlike now when Makshonu Baba, a 7-year-old, goes to a funeral. No, not with us. With us, you are taken nizobuya after the funeral. So, mina I knew Baba Mgutuye Natal because I'm born Mkize. So we were told, not even by my mother, but by my aunt, that Kaupu to say Natal. Until we grew up and come to realize at a particular stage that, in fact, the person has passed on. But during that period, you are not even entering. Never mind going on the stage to go and speak about your father and you'll miss him. No. You come home when everything is sorted. You just get surprised. You see your mom wearing black clothes forever. Bakundikanda. And that was it. Then the following week in Yeskolweni, everybody's looking after you. Yes. So that was it. The next one that was very painful is to lose your husband, not because he had to die, but because of misdiagnosis and wrong application of medication. Yeah. And you battle to save his life. And after a period of 5 months, the man gives in when you think he has recovered. And the good thing that I'm grateful of, I've had a very strong support network. I don't know being a widow and abused by my in-laws. In fact, my in-laws were so close to me, because one of the things that I did was to invest on a relationship with my in-laws,
Yes.
both in South Africa and where the grandparents come from in Lesotho, in the Free State, everywhere. They never thought that this political animal can become a makoti. When it is my time to kotiza, I would do everything. I would even go and buy a no-name brand bag of tea bags, take it to Lesotho, buy them towels. And so when there wouldn't be a moment where there would be any strained relationship between me and my husband. And for that, I'm grateful, because up until now, Slaelo, I'm still part of that family. And it is that family that even goes on to say, when you are ready to share with us that you have a boyfriend or whatever, somebody you are seeing, you must bring him to us, to Mokonyane, so that they must tell this man to behave. I'm grateful of that. And I'm grateful to my husband, who made his family to embrace me. And that is one loss that also showed me the problems of women, especially widows, who I can't understand how they survive, especially those that then end up having a standoff, and also the untransformed systems of our government, processes of estates and all those things. I'm very grateful that, yes, he left when I still had much to do with him. But the good thing is that he left me with people who could support me. My elder sisters, everybody surrounded me. And I'm forever grateful that I'm not a makoti kwa Mokonyane or Hamutsamai or Halibabo. I'm a daughter of that family. And I really believe that he's also my guardian angel.
Absolutely. Absolutely, ma'am. Condolences and our prayers go to you and your family on the passing of your son and your husband once again. You just spoke about the plight of women. Now let's get to the name Mama Action. We know Mama Action because we can take you to Ukraine and then we will come back leading everyone. We would come back victorious. Now, my question to you, Mama, is the name Mama Action and your behavior, your strength, your stubbornness, as you said, did you see it filtering into your life as a mother? Or are you able to differentiate between your work life, meaning your political life, but when it comes to a mother, are you a different type of a mother? Or are you the same as being a mother to all of us, really, Banaba, South Africa?
I think there's a moment where I put my family first, and that's part of how we coordinated our lives with my husband. There were things that are non-negotiable at home, from my upbringing, in our marriage, in our family. From the time when one and the name Mama Action, I was the MEC for community safety and had to deal with drug lords. Because again, Slilo, I'm sitting here, I'm a family that is affected by drugs. And we had to go and fight drug lords in the township in Kagiso. We had to go and bring out, call out individuals in the township. We had to go and take out women in the dens in Hillbrow, the commercial sex workers. And when there was serious crime, like we see now, violent crime, buying of stolen goods and stuff, we had a program that we called Wanyatoti, where we mobilized communities. Don't buy stolen goods. Kimoja, I don't do drugs. Break the silence. And support for victims of gender-based violence. Today is Nekaya Letemba in Gauteng. Today we've got Metropolis in Gauteng. It was during my tenure, but under the leadership of the ANC. We built, when I became the MEC for community safety, the budget was 8 million. But we built police stations. We activated business. We activated the private sector to come to the party. we activated society. And that's when then people said, this is Mama Action. And it then moved to housing. When I got into housing, and you go in and you say, who are these people building houses? Then there were no women.
Yes.
And I consciously put together a team of a process to say, let's call women who, whether
Mama, I think your connection is stuck. I think as we wait for Mayor Nomvula Mokonyane to reconnect with us, please allow me to read a few of the comments. One says, deep insight of how sacrificial she has been towards the struggle, how you defended us, Mama. The church has always been a pillar to the political regime. Another comment says, this is such an impressive profile, Mama Nomvula. Thank you, Wesley Guild SA. We have lost Mama, but we will wait for her to reconnect. This is such a, thank you, Wesley Guild SA, for sharing her profile, because we tend to think people hold positions based on political association and seldom credit their investment in education. We are at a time where business schools are necessary for women who like you carry a number of hats or titles in their households. Can we create funding opportunities accessible to women who aspire the kind of education and ensure commitment of giving back, not by donating shoes, etc., but by donating back a percentage back as or after completion? I absolutely love this, Sesibaba, that we need to start funding opportunities that are accessible to women, and not just donating shoes or food parcels. Not that they're not important, but we need to have a long-lasting plan for the women in South Africa. Another comment says, African women had a very long or a very tough time back then. Respect to you, Mama Action. Another one says, a force to be reckoned with. Friends, please keep your comments coming as we wait for her to reconnect with us. One friend is saying they are human and family just like all of us. And today, it's exactly that, KG, that we want to bring the human factor to the fore, a part of her life that we hardly ever hear her talk about. For instance, the loss of her son and the loss of her husband, and how that has affected her, and how she feels about the loss of both members of her family. But Kapela, what have you taken from Mama Action?
Listen, oh, mute.
We have a guy.
All right. Into endiyibambileyo Nomvula is that challenges and the problems, they really make you stronger. Yes. You can hear she's speaking with conviction.
Do you have
the challenges they face?
Do you have another device that's connected? Because I can hear an echo at the back.
All right, let me change the position. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Is it fine now?
Anyway, let's continue. We'll see.
Yes. No, as I was saying, one thing I've learned from her is that she's speaking with confidence, with conviction. The problems they face, but yes.
What I would love for us to do.
Okay.
Okay. Go. Are you gonna take us live? Okay, there we go.
We are live.
Welcome back, friends. We apologize about that. The nice thing, and I think this is a good wake-up call for Mama Action, that even she is affected by load reduction. So welcome back, Mama. I would like for us to I would like for us to go through some of the comments and the action and the questions. If there's anything that some of our viewers would like for you to respond to give you that opportunity. Nonzaba is saying, Mama Action, with due respect, would you avail yourself in honor of Mama Winnie, Mama Sisulu, Tambo, and others to be the upcoming president of the ANC in ensuring the ANC has the first female president if the branches of the ANC nominate you? And then every day, elected officials are frequently confronted with the intricate web of party dynamics, personal principles, and the interest of their constituents. Have you ever had to abstain from voting in party lines, even when you didn't agree with the principle? This one we have read. This is such an impressive profile, Mama Nomvula. Thank you, Wesley Guild SA, for sharing her profile, because we tend to think people hold positions based on political association and seldom credit their investment in education. We are at a time where business schools are necessary for women who, like you, carry a number of hats and titles in their household. Can we create funding opportunities accessible to women who aspire the kind of education and ensure commitment of giving back, not by donating shoes, etc., but by donating back a percentage after completion? I would love to see a political party or political parties visible and supporting students in those spaces. I have seen the benefit of practical education business schools give, but I have also witnessed doors shut because of funds. This is where the system continues to hurt us. Another comment, your African women had a very tough time back then. Respect to you, Mama Action. Another comment, deep insight of how sacrificial you have been towards the struggle, how you defended us, Mama. The church has always been a pillar to the political regime. Another option, okay, this one we've read. Thank you for the opportunity, Wesley Guild SA, and also Mama Nomvula, as we celebrate and honor the legacy of the 1956 women. I would like to know if Mama Nomvula has any fundraising project to assist women who wear the same hats like her. This would also cement her legacy in the struggle towards the inclusion of women in mainstream economy. Why, Mama, thank you so much for sharing your story. You strike a woman, you strike a rock. Imbokoto. Lisela says, strong smear, a force to be reckoned with. Mama Action. DSG, hashtag DSG. Any of the questions that you would like to respond to, please?
Thanks, Slilo and Babu Kapela. I'm just going to try and gallop. The issue of a woman president, not only for the NC but for the country, is something that we must all strive for in our lifetime. And if it so happens that it be me, it must not be me deciding to say Nkheteng. It must emerge from the women of South Africa and members of the African National Congress. And we can only do that if we're united, if we are honest with one another, and being objective that this is not just a privilege for one, but it is a representation on behalf of those who came before us. The second one, have I ever abstained? When there was the Termination of Pregnancy Act, I was not in Parliament. I was in the Gauteng legislature. And I think for me, that was one of the pieces of legislation that I had to engage even with my own church, the Catholic Church, that this is not about abortion, it's about saving lives of women and avoid backyard abortions and stuff. And the issue about whether it's the termination of life or it is actually the right to choose and promoting the reproductive rights of women. My church knows my views on that. And if I was in parliament, I would have voted for that because I've seen and I've buried. And just a few weeks ago, I was very disappointed with one young woman who decided to do it informally, and she lost her life. So we still must talk about these things. And sadly, she's Catholic. So we need to deal with these issues. The church must actually adapt and be able to define things appropriately. It is not when the fetus is 6 months. It is at a time when it is still developing, and for medical reasons and for other issues that affect women. Let women be given the right to choose. So I didn't abstain, but I supported the termination of pregnancy. I agree on the issues of giving back. Beyond the school shoes and stuff are very important. However, we must also look at bigger things of investing back in your community. And I dare say some of us are quite involved in those issues. It is my intention that for the foreseeable future, I will set up a body that is in my memory, not in my honor, in my memory, where we facilitate. But for now, I do work with different South Africans, patriotic South Africans, who assist to support and provide not only funding, but also support in terms of skilling, in terms of education, in terms of access and acquisition to deserving women. And I'm humbled, Slylo, that this past weekend on Women's Day, I also got a lifetime honorary award from the South African Heroines Awards body led by Mayor Carol Masiamo for the work that one is doing, not as a member of the ANC, as a community member in South Africa, not only in Kagiso. And I was very humbled just listening to the motivation, people saying, this is the reason why you were nominated. And it's those things, some of the things you don't have to show off. It is your actions that will speak for you. And I was very humbled about that. African women have had a tough life. And one of the things that we must do is to identify capable African women that must be our role models. Here's Umamunandi Natimba from Namibia, who's a president of SWAPO and the party. Unfortunately, I always call her the president we never had, Usisiko Sazan. And we lost because women were divided. And I do think that we must draw lessons, because sometimes patriarchy thrives using women to fight each other. And we become very vicious against one another compared to men fighting one another. I do believe that not when, but now, there will be a woman president of this country. And it must not be only in the ANC. We must call on all parties. It's only the ANC that has got a gender parity policy of 50%. All other parties in our country don't do that. So the unity of women across political lines is very important, so that we deal with our issues outside of politics, and we use our belonging in politics to pursue an agenda that would promote our emancipation, afford us an opportunity to live not in a country like this one where gender-based violence and femicide has become a pandemic, but it's not resourced like COVID. And we're quiet because we're not talking in one voice. And here in South Africa today, children get raped and killed by their parents. Mothers expose children to drugs. And we all are a silent voice, because when we speak on these things, we want to wear our t-shirts. My approach in these things, let's take off our political t-shirts and become women of South Africa. And as I've said, I was brought up as in an environment where any child was any woman's child. And I never felt being an orphan. And that's the teaching I have learned, brought up also Ngaboma Sisulu, who also became mothers to me, to an extent where people thought ngumntwana kaSisulu more than Lindy Sisulu, where Zinzi Mandela became my own twin sister, and Mama knew our habits. Mina no Zinzi, no Zinzi, the good and the bad of young women, and it's those things that we must do now. Let's for women. My parting shot is, if we have to move forward, let's work beyond our political base and go into the political base carrying the mandate of women across political affiliates.
That's definitely where I totally agree with you, Mama Nomvula, because there is so much that we can do as women, only if we can be united. Maybe my last question, what would you say to a young woman or a young girl in South Africa today?
I will firstly assure the young woman in South Africa that their condition is far better than of my generation. And that we are here because the journey is not yet complete, because their struggles are much more complicated, much more complex. They are not the same struggles as our struggles. And therefore we are here to fix their crown, to stand side by side with them, so that as they fall, we are able to rise with them. But also we make them to learn from our mistakes and not commit the same mistakes. And finally, that it is only through them being active than being despondent that their conditions will change. And in this instance, I do believe, Slilo, whether it's gender-based violence, whether it's unemployment and everything, until we get our economy right and we empower women and we give them the opportunity, because once you give a woman an opportunity, it's not only for her, it's for the community beyond her family. That the struggle for economic emancipation will be the best and the most advanced for the emancipation of women.
Sure, absolutely. I totally agree with you there. So as a prayerful woman and a woman who says that the church has played a very big role in who you have become today, how can the church once again become the prophetic voice for our socio-economic statuses and our socio-economic environment especially in South Africa? Because now it seems as if the church is just quiet. So how can the church once again be in the forefront for the benefit of all?
I think one thing that I am concerned about is that we have become a nation that is dependent on miracles. And hence we eat grass, we eat rats, we drink all funny things that people don't do in their own countries. And South Africans must stop being people who depend on miracles. You must have faith, you must persevere. And most importantly, you must not look for what is a miracle, that very miracle has not empowered the person from his or her home of origin. And we must really make sure that there's connection between our cultural beliefs. There must be tolerance of our cultural diversity as well as our religious diversity. And we must find one another. I always say, I can't believe on somebody I've never met when I don't believe Gutuma wami no baba wa mamadlozi wami. And then I believe that no, Jesus is somebody who will take care of me. The good thing about my faith, again on women, I respect Mary, the mother of Jesus. And I call for an intercession, and that's what the church must do. There must be intercessors, and they must help us to have faith and remain hopeful than to believe on miracles. And our own mainstream churches themselves have found us with our own cultures. Let them be accepted. In the Catholic Church, we burn incense, impepo. And we must do that. We must be allowed. It's not witchcraft. during COVID, we used umhlonyane. We must do that as a and because others baloya using religion. So I'm saying we need to contextualize theology so that it can be theology that is suitable for our conditions. And hence, the Institute of Contextual Theology played that very important role in our time to conscientize us and help us to adapt, and always not become a churchgoer, but become a person of faith, because there's a big difference between a churchgoer and a person of faith. And it's that we need in this country. Let's do away with these miracles that are now being brought to our country. They are messy. They don't work in their countries. Why are they not having followers in their countries? And they come here, they feed you with rats. They tell you must actually undress, and they touch your private parts and say you'll have a child. Go and see a gynecologist. Go to health and ask what are the complications. And I think women and young people have become very gullible into these fly-by-nights. And I'm sorry to say that, because somebody must tell me, how does grass help me to find a job, drinking petrol, and so on? But they don't do it in their homes of origin. They abuse women. They take advantage of the vulnerability of young people, even if they are acquitted by the courts. But the interventions are so demonic, are exploiting. And the mainstream churches, the Catholic Bishops' Conference, the Wesley, the Methodist Church of Southern Africa, the Catholic Church must rise. The plight of our people based on poverty, unemployment, and inequality makes people to do horrible things.
Yeah. It's desperation, I think, more than anything.
Yeah. That's exactly the issue.
Yeah, and maybe this is where the country needs to sort out its immigration laws, and sort out the justice system as well. So we can only hope.
Yeah, and also where we must build patriotism. Silailo.
Yes.
You go to Mozambique, you go to Nigeria, you don't find a South African selling drugs in Nigeria. No. And the reason is they come to Kagiso because Nomvula allows them to come and stay in my house. It's us.
True.
So leave of course, we must deal with our migration patterns, but nobody migrates from South Africa to Nigeria illegally. So it's the South Africans who open up our custom processes in the borders. It's us who take money. It's us who buy stolen goods. It's us who allow these drug lords to destroy our nation. It's us young women who want quick money and being rich and nice and fall into human trafficking. So patriotism, the issue of patriotism, we all get excited about building houses, clinics, and stuff. We must build a South African who's proud of being a South African. People who come illegally into South Africa don't do those things in their countries.
Sure. And the laws are tight in their countries. Nomvula, thank you so much for availing yourself. Hashtag DSG. We know you are busy. And cancer siyabulela kakhulu mama, ons is baie dankbaar. Thank you very much for allowing us into your personal space, because some of the things that you spoke to us about, it's not easy. You don't just find them online, and we just wanted to feel your energy and feel your spirit and speak to the person, not just the politician, not just Mama Action, but speak to the person and hear words of wisdom from you. I don't know if you want to give us in the next minute, give us your parting shots.
Yes,
your
my
last
parting
words.
shot. I want to appreciate that in this month I'm connected to the Wesley Guild, and it has also reconnected me with my past, and for that I appreciate. Secondly, I I want to share with everybody on the platform and anyone who's listening. I have kinali mina thoko waka, you know, something that wakes me up and appreciate the Nomvula I am. It's a verse in a hymn Milipiluli Moya, a verse that says ubuehle mongati linna untayele untume musebetsing ko sebeletsi. And it makes me to wake up even under difficult conditions. And when it says esihlabelo saka ke nna ka sebele, you sacrifice for your children, for your family, for the community, for the church, for the nation. And if you want to connect with Nomvula, remember me with that verse. Thank you very much once more.
Thank you so much. With your family and to those who are around you, may you always find yourself in the warm hand of our Heavenly Father. Thank you so much. Friends, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It was such an honor for me. You know, these conversations, I call them once in a lifetime conversations, because you don't know if it will get a chance to happen, to be in a conversation with the likes of our heroine, Mokonyane. But Kapela, would you mind usivalele ngomthandazo bhuti mntwana?
All right, sis. Before we pray, uma muthethe kakuhle kakhulu ngento nokubana i-female president yona into esazawuba khona. Into enkulu kakhulu leyo, sis. We should know, we should all understand that there is no true social revolution without the liberation of women.
Exactly.
If we can understand that, then we'll be fine. Yes. They must be liberated, they must be free. And sonke as a country, we should stop believing in charity, because charity is vertical. It comes from the top and it goes downward. We should believe in solidarity, because solidarity is constant. It respects the other person, so you learn from the other person. So that's all I wanted to say. And we should all remember that the future is not some place we are headed, but it is what we are making every day. And the route to that future changes both the maker and the destination. So on that note, can we please close our eyes? Sizothandazake. Egameni loyisene lonyana nelomoya ingcwele. Bawuthixo Nkosi, siyabulela ngale mini namhlanje. Sibulela ngako konke besikucelile xa sivuka kwindawo ngendawo esiphila kuzo, osigcinise kuzo. Sifikeleleke Nkosi esiphelweni sosuku namhlanje. Sifikelele Nkosi kwithuba loba siyophumla kwindawo ngendawo, singaqinisekanga into nobana kuza kwenzekani ngengomso. Kodwa ngokholo nangethemba siyayazi Thixo into nobana tomorrow you'll give us another chance to do better than we did today. Siyabulela ke Thixo ngoba siyazi uba sikuthandaza sikholwa zonke izinto ziza kwenzeka ngalo wasifelayo ngesu Kristu Nkosi yethu. Amen.
Amen.